so I'm going to walk around with this thing, and I didn't know I was supposed to write it down, and I don't know how long 10 minutes is, so I'm sorry beforehand. I'm not going to talk about prison, which is what everybody thinks I'll talk about, because we're talking about fear. Prison doesn't scare me. I want to talk about Yoda and voodoo. So, before I went to prison, I did things that probably really should have put me in prison. As a resident and not a chaplain, I worked as a corporate attorney for really large corporations. And so when I finally decided I could no longer assuage my guilt by doing lots and lots of pro bono work, and I had to leave the practice of law, I really wasn't sure what to do. And so I thought I needed to take a trip, this really deep, important, meaningful, spiritual trip to figure out what it was that God wanted me to do with my life and where I was supposed to be. And I didn't go to India or Nepal or anything like that. I went to New Orleans instead. And I was kind of like checking out family roots, because part of my mother's family are Creole and from New Orleans, and so I thought I would go and just spend some time. It was not during Mardi Gras, incidentally. So I went to New Orleans, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but there's a Jackson Square, which of course is where everybody hangs out, and then there's this great cathedral on Jackson Square. And so it was probably my second morning there, and I'm walking around Jackson Square, and there's this lovely lady, little old African-American lady with a table, and she's got cards, and she's just doing stuff with like rocks and stuff. I don't know what she's doing. But it's New Orleans, and it was 10 o'clock, so I'd had a couple of beers, and I was trying to figure out what God wanted me to do with my life. So I sat down at the table and decided to have a conversation with her. And so she wanted me to tell her about myself a little bit. So I explained what I'd been doing and who my clients were, and how I realized that that's not what I thought God wanted me to do with my talents and mind and abilities in this world. I needed to serve some noble cause or something like that. Can we use profanity here,
Sure.
by the way? Okay,
Yep.
some such shit. I don't know what I was doing. So I'm kind of talking to her. And so she just kind of listened a lot. I said, so I'm trying to figure out if I need to go to India or Nepal, or maybe go to Russia and work in an orphanage, or just figure it all out, and blah, blah, blah. So she said to me, it was just one of the few things she actually said during the whole interaction. She said, you ain't got to go nowhere to get somewhere. So, kind of like saying, Augustine, turn inside, look up, and there's God. You ain't got to go nowhere to get somewhere. I thought, well, what the hell does that mean? And then the trip to Nepal was probably out, so I'm thinking about it. And so then I said, well, what do I do with that? What do I do? And she's like, well, you need to get back to your roots. You need to figure out who you are, deep down inside, fundamentally. I'm like, okay, how do I do that? And so she said, so I need to go to the swamp, this swamp, and spend the night in the swamp, and talk to Mama Alligator. Okay, whoever the hell Mama Alligator is. I've only had 2 beers, so I'm not going to go talk to Mama Alligator yet. But I need to go talk to Mama Alligator and get real. Okay. So I'm kind of nervous. Nepal seems safer. And I thanked her for her time, and I started to leave, and she grabs my hand. She's really strong, much stronger than she looks. And she said, no, really. You ain't got to go nowhere to get somewhere. You get to that swamp. That was kind of heavy. And so I thought, okay, all right, swamp. Well, I need a second opinion. So how do you get a second opinion from the nice little lady practicing who knows what sitting in front of the Catholic cathedral? So it occurs to me I should probably go to a voodoo priestess, right? Because that's not what I would normally do. Go to a voodoo priestess. So that's what I do next. And by the way, they're not called voodoo priestesses, they're mambos, all right? So then I go to this mambo. Completely alien environment from what I'm accustomed to. And so I walk in, and I'm waiting, I've scheduled this appointment, and she comes out, and she's very nice, and it's interesting, I'll tell you. There was this long bar in the voodoo temple place, okay? It helped. So, so I'd have the 2 beers in the morning and a couple glasses of wine in the afternoon. And so then I met with the Mambo. It was great, actually. She was an adjunct teacher, right? At a local community college, we got to make a living somehow. And so she was very gracious, and spent a little bit more time with me than the other woman had. And we were having what I thought was a normal conversation, kind of, so I wasn't really sure where the voodoo part played in, or what that even meant. And so she's like, well, come back here. So we go back to the back of the bar slash temple slash, you know, whatever it was. So we go to the back and upstairs, and there's this big statue of this voodoo Loa. I don't really want to get into this to explain it, but what I learned was that people who practice voodoo believe that there are, it's kind of like saints, I guess, who will work for intercession between you and God, and so they're called Loa, whatever. So there's Loa here named Damballa, big wooden statue with a giant penis. I mean, it was huge. So I'm like, oh my God. I still don't think I'm going to Nepal. I don't know what's about to happen. So we sit down, and she looks at me and just kind of feels my hands and touches my head. And we talk for a few minutes, and I kind of calm down and start to feel normal again. And there aren't any chickens, and there aren't any goats, and there's no blood or anything. And then she says, kind of matter-of-factly, well, so I think, yes, I think you have a demon. I'm like, oh, shit, right? I thought I was just trying to figure out where I was supposed to be and where I was supposed to go, but I have a demon, which I didn't realize. I didn't feel like I had a demon, but I was pretty sure I picked it up at the law firm. Like, I got a demon. I'm like, okay, so, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. But what she told me is it was going to cost a lot of money. This is not good. So I didn't have a lot of money. I just quit my law firm job and told my mom I didn't need a lot of money. I didn't need security or my 401k or anything else, but now I have a demon. So, and I explained to this nice woman that the woman I'd spoken to earlier recommended that I go to the swamp. And maybe I should go to the swamp. Because I wasn't going to pay her an awful lot of money to get rid of the demon. So that's what I did. So I went to the swamp, and I wasn't sure what to take to the swamp. But what I did know was the advice that Master Yoda had given to me a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Remember when Luke, those of you who've ever seen Empire Strikes Back, that Luke was going into the cave and he was going to take his lightsaber and he didn't know what else to take, and Yoda said, you're only going to need what you take with you, right? Well, I thought, okay, I'm not going to take anything. Nothing. So, I went to the place the woman had told me, and I met this Cajun guy who was really nice, who thought I was crazy, and he took me out on one of those big boats with the big fans on the back into the swamp where I saw water moccasins, and then there were real live alligators, and I was pretty damn scared. And I had a lot to drink, and I was still pretty damn scared. So we go back into the swamp, and we get to this place, and they told me you're going to feel when you need to stop. Big tree, cypress tree that are everywhere, but this one looked important, so we stopped. And I got out of the boat and parked myself under the cypress tree to spend the night. And I don't know if you know this, but alligators breathe really loudly. I guess they were breathing because eventually it got dark and I could just hear this, and I knew it was alligators. No one else it was, but it was alligators because I'd seen them. And I spent the night there. And it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever done in my life. It was far more frightening than leaving my comfortable job at the law firm and leaving my home and everything else. And I'm pretty sure that the nice lady at the church probably thought if the white girl went, she was just going to get killed and eaten up at the swamp and nobody'd find her, so it wouldn't matter. But I didn't. And the water moccasins didn't get me, and the alligators didn't eat me. And who knows what time it was, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I was so tired and frightened. I couldn't be tired and frightened anymore. I was just really peaceful. Really peaceful. And decided maybe I didn't have to go to Nepal or Tibet or anywhere else. That maybe all I really did need to do was spend some time with myself in a really dark place and find out the scariest things were inside. So I made it out of the swamp. The next morning, a guy came back to get me, and he looked a little surprised. I think that, so yeah. So Yoda really taught me everything I needed to know about fear. You're only going to need the things you take in with you. And that's proved true for me for the rest of my life since then. Thanks.
Yay, Jeannie, you came. I'm so excited. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I heard her tell that story when we did 10 by 9 in the prison. But then I got banned from the prison, and then she had to resign because the administration wanted her gone. So now that we're both out of the prison, you can come tell stories here every time. That'll be great. Thank you. We had somebody who didn't show. I'm hoping he's okay. I don't know what happened. We haven't heard anything. And so the next storyteller graciously agreed to do one extemporaneously. You all know him. He's been here every single time. He's told 8 or 9 stories. He even co-hosted with me. He's the executive director of YES. He's an adjunct prof at Lipscomb University, and he's been married to his wife for probably 35 years, 34 years. Please welcome Uncle Rob McRae.